I've had a lot of family and friends ask me how I fuel during these endurance runs and endurance bikes. So rather than try to explain it a million times, it's so much easier to just show you what I do. So this is what I use. And this is a custom blend. So what's really cool about this is you can add things like caffeine or protein or whatever it is that you want, and you can customize just how much carbohydrates are in each scoop and what the concentration is. So here's the scoops here, like that. So 2 scoops is good for an hour. And how you know that is, 1, it tells you on the bag, but 2, typical fueling for endurance training is like 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrate per hour. For something like an Ironman or something that's going to be more than like 4 or 6 hours long, you typically want to go upwards of 60 to 90. Problem with that is a lot of people have a lot of GI upset with carbohydrates that high, but so you got to train your gut. You actually have to train your gut to handle that level of carbohydrate, and your gut will adapt. It takes about 2 weeks of what's the word I'm looking for, exposing your gut to that stuff, and then eventually you end up with more transporters and whatnot. So bottom line, your gut adapts. So it takes some time, but you just gotta keep at it. So this one here, for 2 scoops, it's about 69 grams of carbohydrate. So I'm right in that 60 to 90 level. From what I know about myself is 60 is really what I can handle. Much more than that, and I start getting bubble gut real bad. So I don't usually go above 60 grams per hour. I do okay. I'll supplement with other things as needed. Fluid is really where I notice that I hit a wall if I'm not staying hydrated appropriately, which, by the way, 3/4 to 1 liter per hour, depending on weather and what you're wearing. So if you're wearing a lot of stuff that's going to keep you from sweating and letting off heat, then you probably need more fluid. So this one, something to consider when you're doing fuel is you want something with multiple transportable carbohydrates. So what that means is you don't want something with just glucose, you don't want something with just fructose, because if you have only one or the other, then you're going to overload your gut, and those excess sugars are going to go down your gut into your colon, get fermented, and that's not a good day. So you want multiple carbohydrates in there. Maltodextrin and fructose are some of the most common, although people with really sensitive guts sometimes don't handle fructose very well, but it is typically recommended to have some in there. And dextrose is another one. Caffeine goes either way. Some people really like caffeine, and some people think it upsets their gut further because it is a stimulant. So typically with caffeine, about 200 milligrams is what we see for some kind of effect. And a lot of people like to take that towards the end of the race. So that's when you'll see the Red Bulls come out. The other thing is protein. Having protein in a product does increase the risk of GI upset, but again, you can train yourself to handle that. If you're particularly sensitive, then maybe we leave the protein out. The benefit of the protein is it does help with hunger. So for races this long, you do get hungry. So bringing solid food is an option, but again, that's been associated with increased GI upset. So again, you gotta train these things and test it out and see. If you know you handle it well during training, then you can probably handle it during race day. So what I do, this is thanks to Christy Osborne, my super awesome coach. She taught me this. I'd never seen this before. So I actually filled this all the way to the top with powder, and I put a little water in there just to get it to pack down a little bit. So I actually have about 6 hours worth of fuel in here. So this is super concentrated. So when you take this, what I typically do is I take a swig and then I take some water so that it's not going down into my stomach in a super concentrated form. Again, training. If you can handle it, you can handle it, but you should be drinking water anyways. So you should be diluting this as it goes down your tract anyways. So this is what I do. Now, the trick to this is, now if you notice, I had this filled up all the way to the top. I put a little bit of water in there, and you probably can't see it because of the lighting, but the water ends up causing it to compact a little bit, so I can get a little bit more water in there. And it just ends up being this back and forth of fill it with a little water, shake it a little bit, fill it with a little water, shake it a little bit, and eventually this stuff goes down so that I can fit all of it in there. And I handle this pretty well. So here we go. This is the last thing I'm doing before I'm dropping off my bike, and then it's go time tomorrow. Yay! Bye guys!